What's up guys? In this video I'm going to teach you and I'm going to show you how to create a REST server using Node.js. This is going to be very cool, but it will take a little bit of time. So what is the first thing that we have to do? We have to install several things, and indeed these are a lot of things. So let's start. By the way, let me tell you something before we start, and is that, look, I learned everything thanks for this man, like Fernando Herrera. He has a lot of courses teaching a lot of JS, Node.js, Flutter, web development, mobile development, yeah. So I encourage you to come and visit his work because for me it was truly amazing. So having this said, let's start installing things. So what is the first thing that we have to install? We have to install Node.js. So you just simply come here, Node.js, and you click here. It's this simple. Perfect. Once we have this installed, we are going to install another thing called Postman. So here you have this. You sign up, then you download the tool, and that's it. And finally, we are going to install MongoDB Compass. So you come here, MongoDB Compass, and again, it's very simple. You just click on download, next, and all that. So having all these programs downloaded, what we are going to do is that we are going to keep downloading things. So we are going to open a new folder, and we are going to call this folder REST server. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to open the Visual Studio Code and we are going to open that folder. So you just drag it here and we are going to start opening things. So, well, downloading things. So which libraries are we going to use here? We are going to use several. The first thing that we have to do is to initialize the project. So how do we initialize the project? We are going to put here npm init. So you put this and you're going to see that it's asking you a lot of things. Look, you can click enter, and that's it. If you want to avoid this, like pressing enter, look, it just created this file. You can do the following. So in order to avoid all those enters, -y. This simple. So you just press this and it does the enter for you. Perfect. So now we have to install libraries. Now that we have this, we have to install them. So how do we install the libraries? npm I, or install, whatever you want, course, then express validator, and finally mongoose. So you press enter and now all these things are being installed. Okay, for now this is okay. In the next chapter, I'm going to teach you how to configure the database because we are going to use an online database. Okay, so let's create that MongoDB database. As you can see, the first thing that you have to do is to click on submit. This is after logging in with Google or whatever you did. Is just clicking submit. Okay, now you are in this screen, you just have to wait a little bit, and the next step is putting all this information. Since this is just a test and you are just going to use this as a test, put whatever you want. I encourage you to put things that are actually true. For example, that you are a developer, that you are going to test this, that you are going to use JavaScript, etc. Okay, you click on finish, and now you have to decide which payment do you want. Of course, we are going to use the free one. And now you have to choose on which country and server do you want the database to be. Leave it as it is because it is automatically choosing your closest one. Now you just have to set here a username and a password. But the password is extremely important. You have to remember this password because later on we are going to use it. So you can see that here I'm writing the password and indeed I'm going to show you, but don't worry because if you try to do anything with my account, you cannot do that because I will delete this account. Okay, so once you have those two things, you just have to enter your IP. Look, if you want to work from anywhere, you just have to put 0.0000 and that's it. But you can click here on add my current IP if you are just going to develop this server from your house, for example. So now that we have this, we just have to wait a little bit because the server is being created. Okay, so now you can see that the server was created and you have to click on connect, and now we are going to use connect with MongoDB Compass. You can see that we have to put a password. That is the password I told you. It was very important. Okay, so the next step is going to the MongoDB Compass. Okay, so you can see that now we are here in the MongoDB Compass. We just have to click on new connection, put the URL that we have, and put the password that we have set before. So now it's just clicking connect, and that's it. We have configured MongoDB Compass and we have created a MongoDB database. So in the next chapter, I'm going to teach you how to start creating the REST server. Okay guys, so let's continue and let's start building the server. So what is the first thing that we have to do? As you remember, I told you in the previous video that this is important. So this is expecting us to have a file called index.js. So we are going to create that. We come here and we put index.js. Perfect. So now inside this file, we are going to put the logic for loading and putting to work the server. So first of all, we need to use environment variables. So in order to use those variables, we are going to use the library called .env, which we installed in a previous video. And in order to execute this, to make this work, it is as simple as using the function config. So now this is using the environment variables. But how do we set those variables? It is as simple as coming here, putting .env, we create a file like this, and now for example, let's create one. Let's create one which is going to be Mongo URL, and we are going to put here hello, for example. So now in order to check if this is working or not, what we can do is that we can console log and we can say, okay, give me from process.env the variable Mongo URL. So now we are also going to start using nodemon, which is very useful. So you open the terminal, let me open the command prompt, yeah, and here we are going to put nodemon index.js. So there are several errors, and apparently I forgot to tell you what you should install. So let me install it very fast. So you just have to install .env, then we are going to also install course, we are also going to install express, and finally express validators, and also mongoose. So let me see if I've written everything right. I think so. But yeah, once this is installed, like now we have everything we wanted installed, we can use the nodemon as we tried before. So now, okay, everything is working, and you can see here that we have that hello message that I said before. So now we have the environment variables set, but we need to create the server. For that, instead of creating a server here, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a class, but we are going to do that in another file. Perfect. So how do we do this? It is as simple as first creating a class. And how do we create a class here in Node.js? Class server. That's it. Now in the constructor, we need to set some things. So we are going to put here constructor, and inside we need to set the express server. How? For example, we are going to create an attribute which is going to be called app. And this attribute is going to be equal to the result of calling express. But in order to call express, we need to import it. So we are going to do express is equal to require, and here we put express. That's it. Perfect. So now we have this initialized. What is the next thing that we should do? We should connect to the database. So for that, we are going to create a function which is going to be asynchronous. So let me put here connect db. And inside here, what we have to do is that we are going to call another function which is going to be, for example, let's say connect MongoDB. Perfect. Let's create this function outside, and it is as simple as putting here database. Well, let's create, database, and let's create config.js. Perfect. So inside here, what do we have to do? We need to connect to Mongo, but how do we do this? First of all, we are going to use Mongoose. So let me import Mongoose using require and Mongoose. Perfect. So now that we have Mongoose, the next thing that we have to do is basically connecting. And for that, we are going to create a function called connect MongoDB, the one we referenced before. We don't receive anything, but we are going to use a function from Mongoose which is asynchronous. So we are going to use the await. So that means that this must be asynchronous. Perfect. So now we have to do the following. Let's put a try catch so the process doesn't stop if we have an error. And if we have an error, what we are going to do is that we are going to print it so that we can see what is happening. Perfect. So now that we have this, we are going to do the following. Okay, we are going to use Mongoose. We are going to use the method connect. And inside here, we need to set, well, we need to send, first of all, process.env the Mongo URL. But obviously, we need to set the Mongo URL. But let's wait a little bit. Mongo URL. And then here we have to set some options. I recommend you setting these ones because these are the ones that are working for me. And for this tutorial, we are not going to need anything else. So we are going to use user new URL parser equal, well, true, perfect. And user unified topology is going to be true as well. Perfect. But now we need to set this. How do we do that? How did we do that in the previous video? If you remember, this is very simple. So let me come and take the page. You have to come here to the page of MongoDB, and remember, you just click here on connect, then connect using MongoDB Compass, and we have this. So we take all this link and we are going to put it here inside the .env. But now we need to change the password, and let me check because I forgot the password and I have it written here, okay? So now we have to put here Mongo password 1. This is the link for this database. Perfect. So now that we have this, we can do the following. We can basically continue connecting to the database. So now we could check one thing, that is that if we, you can see that now when I save this file, now this is changed. Now this has the URL that we wanted. So now we can try if this works. First of all, in the index, instead of console log this, what we are going to do is that we are going to instantiate a server, and this is going to be new server. And apparently I haven't exported this, so we are going to do module exports server like this. Perfect. So server, okay, perfect. And now we are going to simply call the constructor. We have the server. Okay, so now let's add this function to the constructor and let's see if it works. So we are going to do this, connect db, and if I save and there is no errors, apparently this is working fine, but I forgot to save this other one, and yeah, we have a mistake. So what is happening? Apparently this await is not defined, connect MongoDB is not defined. I have forgotten to import this and also to export it. So we have to come here and say module exports, and let's put here connect MongoDB. Perfect. And here now we should be able to import it. Perfect. So we are still having errors, and it is saying that connection string are not supported. I think I've written this wrong. Let me take it from here and copy that. So let's see. If I put this, okay, now this I think should work. Okay, now it works. Probably there was just an error, a misspell, but yeah, now we have this. So now we have connected to MongoDB, and that's fine. But the server needs to use some other middlewares. As you saw when I was installing some things, you checked that I installed, for example, cores. So in order to use a middleware, we are going to put here this app use and the constructor of the middleware. So we have to import this, obviously. And how do we import it? We are going to come here, require, and we put here cores. Perfect. But now we need to do another thing, which is import, use the middleware for JSON, because we are going to use a lot of JSON files. So this comes from express.js. Perfect. And now I think that we are ready. But obviously every server must listen. So how do we make the server listen? We can create a function, a method here, listen, and we could send here the port. Let's do this. Let's do port. But I think that it will be better if we save the port inside here, inside the environment. So we can do this port equal to, for example, 4000, and we are going to say the following. So we are going to say, hey, this, let me take it from here. The port is going to be equal to the process environment, and as always, now you put the name port, and we are going to say, okay, use the server that we have here and listen. Now we are going to send first the port, and now we have to send a callback. But this callback is truly very, very simple. Indeed, it's just one line. You can just simply print that, hey, the server is working fine. Let's put here info, the server is working fine in the port, 2 dots, and let's put port. Perfect. So now we should come here and we should say, okay, now server start listening. So we have this message, and it means that one, we are connected to the MongoDB database, and two, that the server is listening on this port. So for this part is okay. In the next part, we are going to start putting some routes. Okay, so in this next part, we are going to use route. We are going to create them. And it's truly very simple. Here, I think I forgot in the previous part that we should also use middlewares. So for example, we are going to use the cores middleware, and we are going to use the JSON middleware, because we are going to play a lot with JSON files. So in order to do this, we are going to put here express.json, and now we are truly ready to start with routes. So how do we use the routes? It's that simple. First of all, we have to say, okay, this application is going to use something where we are going to put here a direction, and then from here we are going to take a router. So how do we do this? It is as simple as putting here require, and now we will create the file. But here we need to set the URL, the endpoint. So we are going to say that, for example, this is going to come from API and products. So every time the server receives a petition in which this is the endpoint, we are going to redirect the petition to the file that we are going to create here. So in order to create that file, first of all, we are going to do the following. We are going to create a folder called routes. And inside this routes folder is where we are going to start putting things. So here we are going to send product. It's going to be very simple, and for that reason we are going to put here, wow, we are going to put here products.js. Perfect. Okay, I have to put this inside. Let's put it inside, and we are going to take, let me hide the terminal. We are going to take basically the object from there. So here we have to say, okay, let's go back, not that back. So let's go inside and let's go to routes, and here we are going to take products. Perfect. So what do we need to have in this file? First of all, in the router, well, in the products file, it is very simple. First of all, we need to import from Express a router object. So we are going, well, the class. We import that class here and we take it from Express. Okay, now that we have this, the next step is to instantiate an object from this class. So we are going to say router from router, and well, let's put here this, perfect. And now at the end we have to export this, because this is the thing that here we need. We need basically this router. Now we will set the router with different routes, but we need this router. So we are going to say module exports router, like this, perfect. So now here in the server, whenever we receive a petition with this endpoint, we are going to come here to this file, perfect. So now what we are going to do is that, for example, we are going to declare our first route. Let's say that, okay, router, if we receive a post and apart from this endpoint, we also add, for example, this, then we are going to do the following. We are going to create here a callback, and we are going to say, okay, for example, control log, whatever we receive. But here we have to take into account one thing, and is that we receive a rec and a response object. So we can print the rec. And now I truly recommend you to open the Postman, because we are going to start using Postman. So here this is opening. You don't have to register, or, well, I think you have. I think you have, but it's that simple. So for example, here we are going to click on new, whatever, for example, well, instead of clicking on new, we are going to put here, new collection. Let's put REST test, and here let's create a new petition. So for example, you just press here on new, and I said that this was going to be a post. So we are going to put here post. We are going to put the URL, which is the URL of the server, local host, and we were in the port 4000, I think. And in the body, we are going to put some things. So you press here on row, we put here JSON, that's why that middleware is very important. And let's say, for example, A, here B, perfect. So now let's click on send, and we have a problem because I forgot to start the server. So I have to save this file, and I also have to, let's put here nodemon, and let's put index.js. So let's see if everything is working fine. Okay, everything is not working fine because I forgot to import course. So here I'm going to say, okay, course is going to be equal to require course. Perfect. So now we have the server working, as you can see here. So let's try to send this petition. Okay, it is saying something because it cannot post. So here we had an error. We didn't have an error, so we should check what happened. Oh wow, that we didn't put the endpoint, I forgot. API products, because here, as you can see, it's like, hey, there is no route for this. So we are going to put products, this, and now this is printing this, and this is staying here because it needs an answer. So let's answer. So how do we answer? Is that simple? So let me come here to products. We are going to use this response object, and we are going to say res send, and let's put here, well, just this, everything okay. Perfect. So now let's save and let's try again. And let's check something. Here you can see that we received a lot of things, but we don't want all of them. Here in the rec we have body, which may be what we want. So what we are going to do is that we are going to send this again. Everything okay, you can see that we are receiving that. And if we come here, now we have what we sent. So this is how routes work. We are going to do more routes, but for this part it's okay. We will do controllers, we will do validators, but let's wait a little bit. Okay, so let's keep creating routes. So we are going to do a CRUD, which means create, read, update, and delete. So we already have created the create route. So now we are going the update, for example. So how do we update in the HTTP protocol? We use the put. So here we are going to say, okay, update something, but wait, because we need to say something here. Well, we will see that in a moment. We are also going to put here router, and we are going to get something. And the same goes here. Okay. Now, if we continue, we need to delete, and we need to delete something. But okay, you may be wondering, hey, how do I say that I want to update a specific product? How do I say I want to delete a specific product? Well, it's that simple. You have to put here this. So here you are basically adding an argument, which is the ID. You are saying, okay, I want to receive this URL, and if I receive this plus something inside here, then this is going to be stored as a variable and is going to be the ID. Let's try this out. So for example, we are going to create here our callback, and again we have the request and the response. And how do we take this variable? Is again that simple. We are going to say, okay, give me the ID from the parameters. So we are going to print that. So let's come back to the postman, and we are going to take this. We are going to use the put. We are going to put, for example, AAA. And okay, I have a problem because I forgot that I have to put the node one. Yeah, I'm very smart. So let's put the node index. Perfect. And let's send this again. Okay, send request. Okay, I haven't sent anything, but you can see that here I'm printing A. And here I'm sending that. Let's try another thing. So for example, AB. Let's cancel this. And before sending anything, let's put here a response. And indeed, let's send the ID. So let's put this as a string. And okay, let's put this. And here we have this because we sent back the ID. And here we are printing what we expected. So that's how you take parameters, and that's how you for example, update a product, delete a product, etc. So let's continue, and let me create these next callbacks. Okay, let me first show you a cool trick, which is, okay, you press here, then you press Alt, and you click here. And you can see that now I'm editing the code in two places at the same time. And indeed, it can be all the places you want. So yeah, we put this, and yeah, that is. Okay, but you can see that now this is going to get too big, like the code is starting to get too big. So what we can do is to create a new folder called controllers. And inside this folder, we are going to create a file called products.js. And here we can do, for example, let's put this, let me see where I have it. I should start deleting things. So let me close others, perfect. So let's say, okay, here from the post, we are basically creating a product. So we are going to put here product post, that's it, a basic function. And we are, we can take all this, boom, and put it here. Perfect. Then, well, this is a function, so let me put this const perfect. And this is async. Let's put here async. And let's do the same for the put and for the get. So we are going to take here put, we say async, and again we are going to take all this code. So let me do this for the following ones and we see each other in a moment. Okay guys, so I forgot here to also put the ID, and here we will do something else in the future, but we will see. So now what we need is to, for example, let's take all this, we take it and we say module.exports equal, we put it here, and perfect. So now we have to take all these functions from here, and it is as simple as putting, for example, product get, well, this is the post indeed. So let's put product post, then here product put, then here product get, and finally here product delete. So you can see that now the code is starting to be more organized, more, well, better. So yeah, in the next part we are going to see how to use validator and how to check, that word is very important, several things. Okay guys, so let's start putting some validations. So how do we put validations here? Is again that simple. You just have to, for example, here you put a list empty at the beginning, and now we are going to use a function which comes from the express validator. So we are going to say const, and let me check because I don't know. Yeah, so we are going to put here check, and it comes from require and express validator. So what is this function doing? So for example, here in the post, if you remember, let me open Postman. Where do I have Postman? Yeah, here. If you remember when we were doing the post of a product, we needed to put, for example, a name, or, well, we are going to put a name, a price, whatever. So how do we check that that is always there? That in order to post a product, you need to always give a petition in which there is name, price, or whatever you want. How do we do this? With the check function. So for example, here we're going to say, okay, check, and name, not empty. Perfect. Okay, what else? For example, we are going to say check, price, not empty. That's it. And finally, we are going to say check, description, not empty. That's it. So now there's always in the petitions need always to have a name, a price, a description, and it truly doesn't matter where that is. So for example, what I mean by this is that you can have it in the body, or you can have it basically here as a query parameter. It doesn't truly matter. But for example, the name must be somewhere, either in the body or either in the query parameter. So let's continue. Let's try this. Let's create a post petition, and indeed, let's do something. You are going to take all these, Control C, and you're going to come here to environments, and you can see that here I have already this created, but we are going to create this now. So let me delete this. We come here to the plus, and we add a new variable, which, oh no, this is URL, and here the initial value is going to be this one. Okay, and you save it. Perfect. So now this is going to be very, very, very simple, because you don't have to put all this. You just put here URL. Perfect. And you are basically having this URL, but you have to choose which environment. So now we are in the, let me put a name. Let me change this name. Let's put REST test, for example. Let's come here now to the rested environment, and here we have this. So now it is going to always send this to that URL. Indeed, let's save this route. We come here. Well, you just press Ctrl S to save. Ctrl S. You come here, And now you come to the folder as you saw, and you click on save. So now we have this, and let's put another name indeed. Sorry that I'm losing time on this, but I think it's important to have this. For example, create a product. Perfect. So now we have this route, which is going to be used to create a product. So now let's test what we talked about before. Let's put a name. I don't know, McLaren 765 LT. Let's hope that one day I have this car. Okay, let's put a price. Let's say somewhere around 300,000. And let's not put a description, and let's see what is happening. So we put everything okay. This is not what we expected. So if we come here to product, it is actually using all this, like it is executing this, when this should have stopped here. Well, in order to do that, you have to create a function. So let's create that. So let's create a function which is validate. And here you receive several things. First of all, the request, then the response, and then a callback, which is the next function. So we are going to put this, and okay, you have to use one thing, is that, okay, is there any error? So if there is an error here, this is going to fill basically something like a list. So we are going to take that list and say, is there any error? If so, stop. Don't execute this function. So how do we do this? It is as simple as const errors, and we are going to take the error, and we need a function which is validation result, and you put here the request. Perfect. And now we have this. Okay. So what we can do is that, okay, if this is not empty, errors is not empty, then something wrong happened and we don't want to continue. So we can use the response to send a message and say, okay, status, we are going to put a status. So for example, 400 baht request, and we are going to say JSON, we are going to send an error, well, a JSON with all the errors. Okay. Otherwise, we are going to execute the next function callback, that indeed I think in this case is this one. So now, in order to this to work, we have to take and put simply this, validate. That simple. So now let's come back here and let's execute. And you see that now we have the errors and it says invalid value in the description. We don't have a description. What if now I come and say description, and let's put, for example, amazing fast car. Everything okay. That's how you use validators. And here indeed I have an error, and is that I think I'm trying to do something, so it's working fine. It's just that car set headers after. Okay, I know what is happening here. I have to put return, because what is happening? It is actually, well, it was actually executing this and trying to send again another petition, another response. You cannot do that. You can only send one response. So it's either executing this or either executing that. So, okay. For this now is okay, because I don't want to be creating a lot of things. When we have to create something, we will create the validators. But yeah, guys, this is how you create the validators on your petitions. Okay, guys, so it's time now to start creating products. So how do we do this? Do you remember that I told you that we were going to use the MongoDB database? For this, we need to start creating models. So how do we do this? First of all, let's create a folder and let's call it models, like this. And inside here, we are going to put a new file, which is going to be called products. Well, product.js, because this is going to be the model of a product. So first of all, what do we need? In order to create a model, we need a schema. So we are going to say, okay, const schema, take it from require mongoose. So, okay, now with this, we are going to be able to create a schema. And what is a schema? It's basically a way of saying, hey, this is going to look this way. It's going to have these attributes like this, like this. So let's create one schema. So how do we do this? For example, we can say, okay, let's create the product schema, which is a schema. So we use this. And inside here, we just have to send an object, a dictionary. So I come from Python and I always say dictionary, but yeah, whatever. So for example, the product is going to have a name. So we put here name, but let's leave it like this for the moment. It's going to have a price and it's going to have also a description. But this is not enough. We also need to say several things. For example, we need to say the type. So the type of this is going to be a string. Then, for example, for the price, we are going to say that the type is going to be a number. That's it. And then here, the type is also going to be a string. Perfect. But what if I want that every product has a name? What if we want that? We can put here more constraints and say that, for example, this is required. And we can basically say, okay, is required, it is true, is required, but if we don't receive the name, we are going to send this error. The name is mandatory. And let's say that also the price is required, but we don't want to set here an error message. So it is as simple as putting required, and here we just put true. That's it. Okay, so now we have our schema, but we need to create a model. So how do we do this? It is as simple as coming here and importing the model. So now what we are going to do, well, let's import it. We are going to export module, exports, and we are going to say, okay, we are going to export the module created, not the module, sorry, the model created from a schema. And we need to set a name and also the schema. So here we are going to say product. And one thing, this automatically adds an S. So later when we check the MongoDB atlas, you are going to say that this collection is called products. But yeah, it's this. So then we are going to also send the schema. Perfect. And we are ready. So now we can start playing with creating models and products and all this. Okay, so now we are ready to start creating the different products and the documents. So how do we do this? A document is how Mongo calls these things, the objects that they save. So yeah, how do we start doing this? First of all, we need to add more restrictions. So for example, here, we are going to say that the name must be a string. Okay, perfect. Then we are going to say that the price must be a number, because in the previous part we said that the price is basically a number. So we are going to check this before we go to the controller. And here this is very nice because we can set a lot of options. So for example, our products are going to have a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of 2000. Perfect. So now if the price is not in this range, we have a problem. Then we continue and we can check that the description is as well string. So here we take this, we put it off. Perfect. So we can start playing with the post. So now we have all the restrictions that we want. So let's come back to the controller, and here we need to start creating the different, the product. So how do we do this? Very simple. First of all, we are going to take from the body all the things that we need. So for example, we are going to take the name, the price, and the description. Perfect. And all of this is taken from the body. That's it. And now it comes the time. We have to create a product. So we say, okay, const product. And now it is truly as simple as doing new product like this. And here inside we put all these elements. So we have to import this. Let me come back here to the, in the Spanish video, I forgot that I have to send this. So for example, I have to use the model, and we are going to say here that we have to send the product schema. I forgot this in the, I have to also put a name. So we are going to put here product. That's it, okay. So now we are going to take this, perfect. And now we have a product, but we basically have an object and it's not saved in the database. So how do we save it in the database? We are going to put product save. That's it. But one important thing, this function, the save, is asynchronous. So if you execute this, then the function ends and maybe you don't save the file. What you have to do is to say, hey, stop here, and once this function is finished, once the product is saved, continue. So remember that in order to use the wait, you have to put here async. Perfect. And now we send a response. So for example, we send that, hey, the product has been created. Perfect. So now let me open Postman, and I'm going to also open MongoDB. Okay, so once you open Mongo, you should have something like this, local and admin and nothing else. So now let's go back to Postman, and here we are going to create this product. This product, So you can see that the price is not here. So let's see what happens. We try to send invalid value price. Okay, valid value, perfect. So we are going to send a price, and actually let's check if this detects that this is not a number. So invalid value, perfect. And one thing that you can do is that you can send a number as a string. So this will work. So let's put here 300,000, and we couldn't get a response. How much I like this. This means that we have an error somewhere. So I think here I've written this without capital letters, and this should be a capital letter. So let me put the product, and okay, this is saved. We come back to Postman and let's try again. Perfect, the product has been created. So here now we don't have any error after that. And if we come back to Mongo, press Ctrl R, okay, you have now the database test, and here you have a new collection, products, and you can see that we have the McLaren 765 LT with a price of $300,000, and here the description is un coche apasionante. That's perfect. So now we learned how to create a new product. In the next video, in the next part, we are going to just simply create these ones, but it's truly very, very, very simple. Okay, so this is going to be the final part, and here we are going to do the following. The put, the get, and the delete is going to be very simple. But first of all, let me tell you one thing. Do you remember that we created lots of cars and the price is way above the maximum that we established? So how do we fix this? This was my problem, and here I wasn't using the right validator. You have to use isInt. So now, if we create a car, for example, let's come here and let's put a crazy price, it's telling us, you cannot do this. So for example, let's change this and let's put Peugeot, for example, and let's say 2000. Now this works, but if we put 2001, this doesn't work. Perfect, so now we have that fixed. So let's continue. Now we have to update products, and it's going to be that simple. But we have one problem, and is that, for example, here, we don't want to always have every field. So for example, we may just send the name or the price or the description. We may just update one of those, not all. So how do we do this? It is very simple. So what you have to do is the following. Here, there are lots of ways of doing this, but for example, the name. Instead of putting is a string or not empty, because both check that you have that there, you put custom. and we are going to create our own validator. How do we do this? That's simple. We are going to put here name, and for example, let's give this a default value, which is going to be the emptiest string, and here we are going to say, okay, if the name, let's say if name is equal to this, return, go out from the function. But, well, let's put here else if the name, well, let's put type of name is different from string, you are going to say, let's put here, throw new error, and the error is going to have a message which is the name must be a string. Perfect. So now let's continue and let's do this for the following fields. So for example, here we can do the exact same thing. Instead of name, we are going to put description, and for the price, remember that the order doesn't matter, but well, it would be nice to have this in order. Don't forget to put here validate. We are going to put here check price, and this is just JavaScript, like it's very simple. So we receive also the price, which we are going to put that like this, like that default value, and if the price is equal to that, go away. Oh wow, return, go away. Else if is not a number, if price is not a number, then we return an error, which is throw new error, the price must be a number. Perfect. So here we are going to put a comma, and let's check if we have done this well. So we are going to come here to products, and we are going to send this, like this should be fine. And we have a problem, and is that I forgot that this is async. We have to put here async. This must be asynchronous. Perfect. So now if we put this again, okay, now we have received that, like it executed the controller and the controller just prints this. Perfect. But for example, we can put here name, and let's say that we put, I don't know what. Perfect. And remember, here we should also check that, we should also check that if not a number, okay, but else if price, let's put here parse int price, because if we get to this point, it is a number. Perfect. This is less than 0, or parse int, this is, well, price is greater than 2000, we have a problem. So we are going to put here throw new error, the price must be between 0 and 2000. That's it. Perfect. So let's check here. What if we put -1? Aha, we have a problem, and we have the right message. And for example, let's put 2001, well, 20,000, whatever. Perfect. Let's give this as a number. Perfect. Okay, so now let's get to update the product. So how do we update the product? It is again simple. Remember that we are taking here the ID. That's almost everything that we need. We also need the, let's put here name, let's put here price, and let's put here description, description, and we take these from the body. Perfect. So we are going to do the following. Await, because this what we are going to execute is asynchronous. Await product find by ID and update, and we need to send the ID and the dictionary with all the things that we want to update. Since this may return undefined, this is totally fine, I think. Let me check because I don't remember well, but I think that this is totally fine. So we put this, we are also going to say that the product has been updated. Perfect. So this is giving us an error because it is not asynchronous, but we execute, and okay, we also have an error because, okay, no, we have this. Okay, the product has been updated, so we come here to this. Let me do Control R, and the McLaren has been changed. And you can see that the description, since we haven't sent that, it wasn't changed. So that is fine. That is working very well. So let's continue. How do we get products? We want to get all the products. This is also very simple. Here, we really don't have to check anything because, look, this can be supposed that everyone can do that, whatever. So we are not going to validate anything here. What we are going to do is that we are going to just simply say, okay, product find, and if you don't put anything, this is going to return everything, basically. So we can put here products, and remember that these functions are asynchronous, and here resend, well, let's put JSON, and put products. Perfect. So if let's save this, remember that you come here, this is rest test, and here let's put update product. Trust me that this is truly very useful. Like doing this in big projects, for example, here I have one big project, and it's very useful. So let me put this, let me remove that. Okay, so we are going to create the get, which is very simple. We are just going to put here the URL API products, and we couldn't send a request. We had a problem. What is happening? Here again, I forgot to put the async. My God. So we try again, and okay, you can see here that we have all the products. But what if we have too many products? How do we limit this? We can do the following. We can do, let me think, you can use the skip function, you can use the limit function. And you can say that you just want to, for example. So now you can see that here we have 3. If we send this again, we just have 2. But what if we want to start from, I don't know, you have 40 products and you want to start from the 20th. How do you do that? We can do another thing. So let's add here, let's put here, for example, from equal to, and let's say 1. So we don't want the first one. Perfect. No, I don't want to save this. Perfect. How do I take this from? I can take it from the query. So we are going to put const from, and we are going to say, okay, rec query, and here we have the from. Let's say that we don't receive anything. Let's put here a 0. So now we can say that, hey, skip, and you put here the from. That's it. Perfect. So now we are going to put this, and now you can see that we are skipping the first one, which was the strange one. So we put here 0. We are here, and we have here the Bugatti. Perfect. We almost have everything. Here, finally, what we are going to do is that we are going to delete. So how do we delete? First of all, I forgot that I have to also show you that here we have to check that this ID is valid. How do we check that? Check. Let's put here ID, and you have a function here, very useful, is Mongo ID. That's it. So for example, if we try to update something that is not a Mongo ID, invalid value. Perfect. And it's set in the ID. But if you try to update something like this, okay, I have a problem. Okay, now. So yeah, you can see that now this is the ID, and you say, okay, perfect, whatever. So that's how you put that. And now, oh wow, let me continue with the delete. So here we just simply have to update that, to check this, the Mongo ID. So we are going to take this. Don't forget the validate. We put here validate, and here on delete we are going to take the ID, Remember, where does it come from? From the params. Smart people here. So we take it from the params, and here, again, that's simple. Await, we are going to put here product, find by ID, and I think this undelete. There's a difference between undelete and unremove, and is that unremove just gives you the object that you deleted, so you can store it here in a variable. Delete, no, it doesn't. So here we send the ID, and we are going to say res send the product has been deleted. Perfect. So okay, again, async. So here we have this, and now, well, I have to create that. Let's put here obtain, let me remove this as well, products, and let's create finally the delete, and we have finished. We are going to put URL API products, and we are going to take this one, the Peugeot, no brokies. Shout out to Andrew Tate fans, no brokies. And okay, the products have been deleted. So can we check if this is true? It is true, guys. So guys, we have finished creating a REST server, a very simple one, but you now know how to create a CRUD with all this. So now your imagination is the limit. So you can create a big business and become ultra big billionaire or whatever you want. So guys, I enjoyed doing this, and I hope you enjoyed as well. So give it a like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.